Hey everybody, this is Liz Main with AuthorX, and I'm here today to show you how you can find a good category using Publisher Rocket. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos or you've taken some of my courses, you know that you can just go to the Kindle bestseller list and there are programs like K-Lytics and KD Spy that can take some of the mystery out of it for you. Publisher Rocket also has some very powerful tools. And today we're going to cover the category search, which is just this one right here in the middle. This is really powerful. Some of my other videos cover other features of Publisher Rocket, but this is one I think is especially powerful. So let me click on that. So category search is going to take you to the main categories in the Kindle store. Or this is both books and ebooks. If you want to select ebooks, just go here and these will be the ebook categories. If you're self-published or indie published, or if you run a small press, I would go for ebook because most of your sales are probably going to be ebooks. If you want to just do books, you can do that. But for this tutorial, we're going to do ebooks. Now you can look at all of these. You can see there's quite a number of them. There's teen and young adult, science fiction and fantasy, parenting, mystery, LGBT, foreign languages, all kinds of fiction and nonfiction. Now, if you want to search for something, you can just go up here. Why don't we look wolves? So you can see there are different things about wolves. So suspense, paranormal, werewolves, and shifters. This would be one. But there are also books for children about foxes and wolves, and you can specify wolves or foxes. This could be like The Fox and the Hound. This could be a book about wolves from a wolf's perspective, animals, dogs, and wolves. For this, we're going to do, so you can always use that. If you want to look at all the romance, you can see these. Now, if you want to look at which one has the highest or the lowest ABSR. Remember, ABSR stands for Amazon bestseller ranking, and the lower that number, the more books it's selling. So you can just click on these arrows here, and this will show you which books that have the word romance in this category string here, which ones have the lowest ABSR, which means they're selling the most books. So no surprise, women's fiction, romance is the second highest selling book, mystery and suspense, fourth highest, new adult and college, ninth highest. These are all incredibly competitive categories. That's why they have these very low ABSRs. This also tells you here how many sales you need to get to number one. This almost always tracks pretty much exactly with this. I don't think some of them you can see shift around a little bit, but I think that's something to do with the algorithm. I'm not sure exactly why, but these sales are approximations. We don't know if this book is selling exactly 5,780 copies, but that's how it's calculated. Now the ABSR of number 10, that's the number 10 book in the category, and that gives you a sense of the 10th one. This is a little more attainable, although number 40 is still really high. You can see sales to number 10 is 1909. That's still a lot. We check out Amazon bestsellers. So you can see this is women's fiction, and from here you can navigate and see some of the other categories. You can see the 7-Day Itch, or the 7-Day Switch. I guess this is number 2 in the whole Kindle store. These Tangled Vines, and then you can get a sense for it here. And then let's see, sports, military, multicultural, action adventure, and so on. So I'm just going to delete that. Once I hit enter, it's going to take us back to this. Now, let's say you want to explore romance, because that's what we've been looking at. You just click this button here, check it out. It's going to pull up all of the categories underneath the subcategory of romance, action, adventure. And this is alphabetical. So you can see gothic romance is here, fantasy, contemporary, A, C, F, G. and so on. And you can see how many sales you need to get to number one. Now, I would recommend, if you're looking for a good category that you want to write a book in, don't look for one that has the lowest ABSR, and don't look for one that has the highest ABSR. You want to find one that's kind of a Goldilocks zone, where depending on your budget, depending on how experienced you are, depending on your marketing, you may want one that has an ABSR in the for number one in maybe the 5 to 25,000 range, because that means you're selling at least, a few dozen copies a day. Romance obviously is a huge seller, so this means the bottom one is only selling 110 copies a day. But the good news about that is there's a big market for it. So if you wanted to, let's say, have an angel romance, this has an Amazon bestseller rank of 410, which is still high, but not as high as women's fiction or some of the other ones. And its number 10 is already selling 117. Well, let's check it out, because sometimes with these, the category is full of things that are not really, like, none of these look particularly angelic. Lucifer's Bride, I mean, he's technically an angel, but that's not really the thing. Rancher Dragon, so that's something you've got to be careful for. You should always check it out, because these clearly don't have a very angelic feel to them. So maybe angel romances are just they're not in right now. It looks like it's mostly dragons and, well, fallen angels, I guess. More dragons, wolves, vampire king. So this is something you wanna keep in mind when you look at these categories. You always want to check them out to see what is actually in the category. So that's romance. Let's look at one more category, because I want to get one that's maybe not quite as popular as romance. Let's look, how about at science fiction fantasy? Okay, so these are all the sci-fi and fantasy. You can see these are all alphabetical, so fantasy is going to be first. Fantasy, new adult, and college fantasy. New adult is like just a few years after young adult. Young adult, usually the protagonist is between 14 and maybe 19 at the oldest, so freshman year of high school all the way up to freshman year of college. I can think of a few young adult books that are set in the freshman year of college, like Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell or Lightning Born by Tracy Deonn. They're both college students, but it has to be the first year for whatever reason. And new adult, there's a little bit of a bleed over with new adult. Generally, new adult can have sex scenes, but young adult can't. So that's just something to keep in mind. Paranormal and urban, romantic, superhero, alien invasion, anthologies, all of these things. Now, if this wasn't a tutorial, I would kind of go through this and browse and just look, not really looking for anything specific, just like you're browsing at a bookstore, saying, oh, that looks kind of interesting. Oh, that's, I didn't think about that. Oh, Stargate, I vaguely remember that. I didn't know there were adaptations, but okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and do the ABSR, and we're going to get the lowest one first. So it looks like the number one books in the Kindle store is a sci-fi colonization, but the ABSR of number 10 is 1,000. It's only selling 100, whereas this one is selling over 6,000. So it's not that this specific subgenre here is super duper popular. It's just that there's at least one popular book, and again, we can check it out. Okay, Ice Planet Barbarians, Barbarian Alien. Oh, alien romance is absolutely popping off. I think I've been vaguely aware of that. I married a lizard man. Oh, good for you. Okay. Alright. So there we go. So that is, if you want to write a quick book about alien romance, it's fine. And we can see this, well, this is the general category, so not surprising, the ABSR of number 10 is going to be higher, because this is a smaller subgenre. Hard science fiction, similar thing. The First Contact, you've got 10 here, and then you've got 1030 here. So you can see, again, this shows you the algorithm is not, it's not godly, it's just an approximation. So this has a, I guess, a higher ABSR, and it says sales are to 112. This one says it's 1030, the sales are just 3 less. I'm sure that's how they calculate it, but you don't want to be too beholden to these numbers because they're just approximations based on data that that Publisher Rocket gets from various authors and other sources. So let's go down, let's look at some that have an ABSR in maybe the 200 range. In some of these genres, you will find ones that where number one is in like the 3,000s or something. You don't want it to be too low. If it's, generally speaking, if it's over like 50,000, it's selling less than a copy a day, and if that's number one in the genre, don't even bother with it. But here we go. Here's one. Its ABSR is 220. Sales number one is 400 a day. ABSR's number 12 is 1322. Let's just check that out. I have a feeling we're going to get more of those alien romance for whatever reason. Well, not quite. Lots of, looks like sci-fi. The Fossil, Lost Contact, The Alpha Protocol, The Lost Secret. There's some, Enticed by an Alien Warlord. Alien has been working out, look at that. Okay, so, some, if that's the sort of thing that interests you, yeah, plenty of very buff aliens in the galaxy, I guess. But that's not all. So you can see these are here, and you can get feelings for commonalities. Obviously, for these more sort of sci-fi space stories, you've got a spaceship, you've got light, you've got lots of greens and blues and yellows. In fact, I think almost all the titles here are yellow or white or orange. Yeah, so these tell you conventions about titles. Yeah, that's really interesting. And I don't know why. Okay, so there we go. This shows you how you can find some if this is what you're interested in, and you can do this with nonfiction too. Let's just quickly try crafts, hobbies, and home. So here we go, lots of different crafts for pets, for birds, reptiles and amphibians, antiques, Americana, autographs. And you can see some of these are just, this is much more niche. So we have one where basketball, antiques, and collectibles. This is selling maybe one copy a year, maybe even less. So, and over 1 million, you may not have sold any at all ever. Or you might have sold a few and that's it. So this I would avoid writing any books about antiques and collectible basketball sports cards because it's not moving at all. But I don't know why this is just an arrow through it. I'm not sure, but it has number 10 for whatever reason. If you see a lot of these, I would just contact support. Antiques and Collectibles button, ABSR number 1 is pretty high. Sales to number 1 is 3,000, but number 10, 833,564. That means you might not have ever sold a copy. So you want to look at both these numbers because you don't want one where there's like one hit book and then a bunch that are selling nothing. So here's crafts, hobbies, and homes. This one might be a little bit better, remodeling and renovation. This one looks good, how-to and home improvement. Oh, this is 1,000, so that means it's selling about 100 copies a day. Number 10 is 15,000, selling about 14 copies a day, which is, decent. But yeah, you can check that out too. Wouldn't it be funny if there's some like alien romances in this? But no. There we go. And you can get a feel for different things. If you have KD Spy, you can look for common words here that come up over and over again. I'm guessing just looking at this clutter, organization, tidy. it looks like it's a lot about organizing. The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. I've actually read this book. It's very interesting. Zero Waste. So we'll have another article, or another video, I should say, about how to use Publisher Rocket and KD Spy at the same time. So that's about it for this tutorial. I hope it was useful, and I will see you guys later. Happy writing!